United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
America, roll call, please.
Keith Guidry.
Here.
Ronald Colley. Roland Curall. Mitch Danoff.
Here.
Brett DeRoche.
Here.
Scott Theriot.
Here.
Brian Martz.
Here.
McNeely Rome. Monty Vegas.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Okay, gentlemen, been presented the minutes from last month's regular meeting. Need a motion to accept. Moved by Monty, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, I have a couple of things on my report this month. First of all, I want to make everyone aware, there's, and Brian, you can give us a little more detail, but there's going to be a memorial dedication to our longtime board member, Mr. Clarence C.J. Morris, Brian's father. I think they're going to dedicate the extension and the road
Yes,
from one to
the section between, yes, Highway 1 and Highway 3235.
And it's at 10 a.m. on
10
Friday.
a.m. Friday morning, right at the intersection on the LA1
On
side.
LA1, okay, that's what I want to get clear. So please, if you're available in the area, let's attend. Mr. C.J. was a very vital member of the group for a bunch of years at the rules community, for sure, also. Okay, my next step also is to mention that Mr. Wendell Curall was pretty shy, when he come in to receive this, but I was made aware that he was awarded award for distinguished service from the Council for a Better Louisiana for leading Leadership Louisiana Bayou Region Tour for the last 20 years. And Stevie told me they presented Wendell with an award last week.
Well, and Stevie said that because he got an award too, so I got to.
That's
Buddy buddies, huh?
fishing for compliments.
Yeah, I did this because I was in Homo or Thibodeau, depending which is the year. And me and him have the microphone for 8 hours, going down and coming back. Now imagine that. Stevie does most of the talking.
They don't believe that. They don't believe that. Ain't nobody in this room believe that.
Well, I'm speechless.
And my next thing to go over is the great honor to award this. And, Mr. Kurt Crowley, good friend of mine, served in each other's wedding, long time, great community. Please come up, Kurt. I'll read this resolution. Whereas the main office of Lafourche Levee District sustained substantial damage as a result of high winds and rainfall which occurred during Hurricane Ida. Whereas Mr. Kurt Crosby and family did offer his building and facilities as a temporary office space for the employees of the Lafourche Levee District. Whereas due to Mr. Crosby's support, the Lafourche Levee District was able to direct its efforts towards recovering from Hurricane Ida by restoring the hurricane protection to pre-storm conditions. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Lafourche Levee District does hereby express its sincere gratitude to Mr. Kurt Crosby and family, representing Crosby Real Estate, for his generous contribution in providing ample office space to the Levee District, its employees, and the community it serves, and in further providing the use of facilities to conduct business and meetings while repairs were being made to the Lafourche Levee District main office building. And this was adopted on the 9th day of October, signed by all our commissioners. So Kurt, we present you with this plaque. Thank you. And this picture of our floodgate, where a lot of your boats go in and out.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I want to mention, as full search and try and find a place immediately. He got it to us. And because we're around Christmas with his family, we both had the same grandfather, Webster Crosby. And the stuff that you do and what Benton did all these years represent exactly what Pop used to do for us, you know. So again, thanks again.
And had a very good rate too, let me make sure. We appreciate it, brother.
I'll say it, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'll mention one more thing. Mr. Ronald, Vice President, is not in attendance. Mr. Ronald's a little under the weather. If you can, say a few prayers for him. He's in the hospital right now. I talked to him this morning. He told me this morning. Please keep him in your prayers. And on that note, we'll move to the executive committee, and Nick will give his report.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Before we move on, and we'll get the hang of it eventually, but I want to make sure everybody's green lights on your microphones are on, if you need to talk. Okay, so moving into the minutes from last week's executive committee. First item was a disaster debris removal contractor recommendation. General manager informed the committee that 6 proposals were received from the re-advertisement, and that a recommendation would be made at the December board meeting. Updated LaRose lot cost estimate. The general manager informed the committee that Picciolo and Associates had provided an updated cost estimate for the LaRose lot project to plan for increased construction costs based on recent bids and other projects. The previous assumed cost estimate of $25 million turned out to be over $39 million, including a 10% contingency, construction management, and right-of-way acquisitions. So the committee discussed multiple possibilities for adding funding partners to make the project happen. New website and hosting. The committee reviewed a draft version of a new Levee District website to replace our existing website before our renewal contract for the website hosting is up in January. AM General Humvee auction results. The committee reviewed the result of the auction for the surplus Humvee, which the district purchased in 2014 for $2,900 and added a hardtop in 2015 for $500, totaling $3,400 for the vehicle. The final auction sale price was $7,177.88, netting a profit of just under $3,800 from the sale. 2024 Mississippi Valley Flood Control Association spring meetings. Committee discussed the benefits of the September meetings of the MVFCA with the congressional delegation in Washington, and determined that having the general manager attend the spring meetings in March would be greatly beneficial. 2024 National Hurricane Conference. Mr. Curall shared his past experience with the National Hurricane Conference events, which alternate annually between Orlando and New Orleans. Committee recommended that the general manager review the workshop offerings for the 2024 conference in Orlando to determine whether the cost to the district would be well invested. Alain LeBreton Company agreement. The committee discussed the general manager's recent conversations with the Alain LeBreton Company, which owns the property where Section D North runs along the levee system. The owners have agreed to allow the levee district to excavate material from their property. We'll consider allowing the district to excavate additional material from the pit east of the Luke Brine storage area. The ALCO attorney is currently drafting agreements for the borrowed material to be reviewed by the district's legal counsel. Next item, change order for vessel impact barrier. General manager shared a photo of a damaged pile cluster near the Ted Gisclair floodgate in LaRose. Angela Design is currently working on a change order to the vessel impact barrier project that would replace this pile cluster to be reviewed at an upcoming board meeting. And on other items of discussion, the general manager shared photos with the committee of recent damages to the ramp over the levee near the LaRose Intracoastal Lift Bridge, that's on the west side, repairs made to the water line at pump station number 8, and repairs recently completed to the Leon Terrio lock. No other items for discussion. The meeting adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Sure.
Okay, anyone here from the audience to address the board?
I just want to ask you guys, and I think I'll be...
Mr. Lawrence, can I ask you to come up to the podium so that people at home can hear what you're saying?
It'll be a fancy lady concert.
Get on your good
watch
side
it.
now.
Watch
Get on
it
your good
now.
side.
But anyway, my name is Daniel Lorraine, 134 East 176 Golden Meadow. Only thing I want to ask you guys is that we always had a good working relationship with the parish, the Levee district, and I've been there a long time, and I'm fixing to go back in. I just want to make sure, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer is that the parish agreed to pay y'all fuel. And this year has probably been a record of not much rain. So my question is, y'all don't have any problems collecting y'all fuel to get it paid for, is what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
I figured that would be the answer. You know why? Because if it'd been the other way around, y'all have been calling me. And I haven't had any calls, and they hadn't had much rain. So thank God for that, for everybody. But, and I'm gonna leave this. Y'all have a good Christmas.
Yeah, no, someone, I remember a couple of years ago, somebody made a comment that they might stop, but you told me that over your dead body.
The reason why I said that they shouldn't stop is because they pay the fuel for everybody else. The difference with South Lafourche and North Lafourche, and this is the truth now, they pay the fuel, but up the road, they pay all the maintenance. They don't pay that here. But I'm working on that. Thank you.
We appreciate your efforts, for sure.
That's right.
Okay, moving on to our general manager report. I'm sorry, anybody else from the, okay. Moving on to the general manager report.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. First item is a resolution to adopt the amended sales and use tax ordinance. So the this was a request of the sales tax office from the school board. The last ordinances for sales and use tax was approved by all the taxing districts in 2015, but we've had a lot of changes in the Louisiana Uniform Local Sales Tax Code, which are the collection enforcement provisions applicable to all local collectors in the entire state. So this new set of consolidated ordinances specific to Lafourche Parish. So this set of ordinances adopts all the current provisions of the local sales tax code. It provides a uniform statutory interest and penalty provisions for all parish taxing authorities. It keeps the provisions of our ordinances that are specific to Lafourche, and it states clearly in the preamble of the ordinances that these are not new taxes of any kind. This is just a consolidated list of the ordinances for the whole parish. And it takes into account potential changes to state law, to the Louisiana Administrative Code, and any parish level elections we may have in the upcoming years. And so the sales tax office has requested from all the taxing districts that we approve the Lafourche Parish sales and use tax ordinances as revised and amended effective January 1st, 2024. If y'all would entertain that motion.
Okay. Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager to adopt the new amended sales tax. Moved by Mitch, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, next item is pump station number 8 discharge pipe replacement. The flood side of the discharge pipes at number 8 has started to rust, with some parts that have damaged being over the saddles that hold the pipes up. So it's where we can't really repair or weld patch plates to the pipes. So we've requested quotes from a few qualified local contractors to replace the pipes on the flood side, not the entire length. So we're not going to be digging up any part of the building. So we're requesting, I'd like to request from the board approval of award that we're going to be receiving those quotes on December 19th. So if y'all would approve award, as long as it's going to be under the $250,000.
How many feet are we changing out?
Ben, how many feet?
It's
Everything on the flood side, from the flood side toe,
on the,
basically from the flood side toe to
That looks,
discharge. It's
200 feet. 200 feet.
Times 2,
oh, that much?
Change it, what's in the water.
yes, everything is in the water.
Yeah, I think we
From
don't
that last bend to the last, oh,
Okay.
once it hits the toe,
And what size pipes are that?
it's 24.
24?
And I think we changed just before it goes in the water, maybe, I don't know, 16 years ago. I don't think we ever changed the port of the pipe that we're gonna do because, so it's, we got our use out of those pipes.
And not to exceed 250? you said?
Correct, because other than that, we'd have to go out for public bid. But we're assuming it'll be below that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager to approve him to accept the quote. It's moved by Scott, second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Next, as mentioned in the executive committee report, we cleared almost $3,800 from the sale of the Humvee. So that was 2 successful auctions now. Next up, we're going to auction off our dump truck. We did check with the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District. They looked at it. They're not really interested in picking that truck up. So we'll put it up for auction again, or not again. We'll put it up for auction in the coming weeks. And then after that would be the old 1965, I believe, transport truck that we have in the back. I did speak with Mayor Carmardell because I know that was a recommendation to see if he would be interested in it. But I saw him at the Levee Board conference last week, and we had a discussion about it. But he actually purchased 2 of those fairly recently, so they're good on that end. So we'll be auctioning that vehicle off too. And we did have the Association of Levee Boards of Louisiana conference last week. It was a very successful conference. It's been interesting being on this side of the table for the ALBO conferences. Since the last 8 years, I was on the consultant side. So it was interesting to see that ALBL conferences, guys, can actually be productive. So I had the opportunity to have lunch with a couple of the members of the Corps of Engineers that are working on our recertification of our levee system. And we had some very good and promising conversation that I've already spoken with Joe about that whole process. So we'll be able to revisit some of the things that it didn't seem before that the Corps was open to. So I think some productive conversation we were able to have there. I don't know if everybody else has anything to add from ALBO, but. All right, so next, disaster debris removal contracts. So we did go out for proposals for pre-positioning contractors for disaster debris removal services. So this would be after a storm. We'd have 1 or 2 companies that we would have already pre-screened. We would have contracts in place so that we're not scrambling at the last minute in the middle of an emergency trying to figure out who would be a good fit for us. We accepted proposals. More than half of them and the first go around looked like they weren't really aware of what our particular needs were. And so we re-advertised and we held a pre-submittal conference with all the interested parties and explained to them exactly what happened specifically after Hurricane Ida, the unique situation we dealt with here on the levees, because most of our proposals, just like the picture you see here, their proposals more focused on debris collection throughout neighborhoods with the tandem trucks with the little cherry pickers in between them, which is not what we needed here on the levee. And so we had the opportunity to explain to all the contractors what exactly we needed, what we're looking for, and the proposals that ended up coming back the second time around were much more promising. So after reviewing those, the recommendation would be to have 2 contractors pre-positioned so that we can call one. If they have the availability, they can come. If not, we have another one on standby that, better chance of us having that pre-screened resource at hand. So reviewing the proposals, I would recommend entering into contracts with Dynamic Group, who did our removal last time, and with KDF Enterprises, who also has GIS as a sub locally.
Did we, in the executive committee, we talked about having protection on the back end, and they would just back out, they'd have a penalty or something. Did we check with Ron if that's possible?
We did not. So the question is if the contractor that we have in place, when we call them and they don't have, they reject the availability.
Yeah.
Is there any
Safeguard?
is there any legal way?
As long as they agree to it.
Contractually we can.
Are they gonna agree to
Yeah.
something that?
they may not have the ability to promise.
Yeah.
But then Stevie, the question would be from FEMA, is there any prohibition of that kind of language? Not that y'all are aware of yet.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean, you put that, they can't provide, I mean, there's some pretty specific requirements in those contracts, and you have to respond in 24 hours, you have to mobilize a certain number of funds and stuff within, 3 days, whatever. We put some, this, and I can't recite them all verbatim, but I mean, that's the whole purpose of that, it's an emergency response contract. And if you tell us you can't perform because you got 8 other contracts, then you have to leave way to go contract with somebody else. And then from a FEMA perspective, you try to do it the right way, and the person you contract with couldn't perform, you have a lot of freedom to go find somebody else to do it if you're in that situation. So yes, I mean, it's.
I mean, contractually, it'd be the same way that our engineers approach contractors, subcontractors, as long as, everybody agrees. And realistically, if they, if they want the job, we put the provisions in there, their legal counsel can look it over, but, I mean, your usual exceptions, acts of God, whatever, their whole fleet gets destroyed, obviously, but if they just, kind of like Stevie's saying, if they agree to enter into the same contract with 10 different levee districts and we get smacked again, then, yeah, they would owe us. Now we're gonna have to go after them to accomplish any of that, but.
The reason we brought that up is like at that time, they might want to walk because it's more profitable to work for somebody else. And that was, holding the contract means nothing at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the resolution could be to approve entering into pre-positioned contracts with Dynamic Group and KDF Enterprises, and authorizing general manager or the president to sign documents pending legal's insertion of that language.
Wendell, you?
I just want to say, that's the other side of it. Even if they do show up, if they don't review, so we're not satisfied with the rate they got, the contract allows us to go find somebody else. So we do have that flexibility on that side. In other words, because and it's like you really don't know what you're dealing with until you really get there. And that flexibility, we did some jumps around after some people didn't move quick enough. So it's kind of open-ended to both groups, so that you're not stuck with a situation you don't like. And it worked out pretty well last time.
Okay, good. Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager to authorize myself and him to sign the contracts once he gets the bid in with Dynamic and all. So, motion by Monty, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you. The next item is going back a little bit to our debris monitoring contract. Going back in the minutes, we recognized that we awarded the contract to Metric, but the wording of the resolution didn't include authorizing general manager or the president to actually sign the documentation. So we would need that separate resolution now to authorize general manager or the board president to enter into the contract with Metric Consulting for debris remonitoring services.
All right, heard the recommendation of our general manager to either him or myself to sign the contract for the monitoring. Moved by Brad, second by Scott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Next item is D North Borrow Pit Agreements. So we, in speaking with GIS Engineering, we recognize that we're going to need additional material to complete the D North ramp project when we rebid the remainder of that work. We're working out the details with the Alain LeBreton Company, who's the landowner here, as to where the material will come from. If you notice in this picture, this triangle pit here is where we previously excavated material for constructing this ramp. In speaking with the landowners, they would prefer that we don't go back into this pit, and they've identified another area they'd like us to go and get material from. I've coordinated with John, with GIS Engineering, and they're going to be assessing that area to make sure that there is enough material. If not, there may be some kind of combination of the two locations. So what I would request from you guys, if y'all are open to it, that if we are able to finalize the wording of the agreement as to where that material would come from, pending legal counsel review, that y'all would authorize us to enter into an agreement with the company for excavating that earthen borrowed material.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the general manager. Motion by Monty, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, and next is some very good news. Ducks Unlimited has been successful in a grant application they put in. This is through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation's National Coastal Resilience Fund. Ducks Unlimited was just awarded $6.5 million from that fund to construct 88,650 linear feet of earthen terraces near LA1 in Golden Meadow. So this orange shaded area is my rough representation of where that'd be. So here's the lock here. This is A West, A East, and LA1, and by Lafourche running here. So this would be essentially between the new elevated highway that'd be coming here and the old LA1 here. So high visibility in one of the most vulnerable spots of our levee system. That would be filling in a lot of open water area here. So
Is that why we just put the rock in it? Or no?
no, we just put the rocks in on the east side here. So that was just a kind of an FYI item that they're hoping to start construction on this next fall. So we'll see some good marsh creation construction happening in Golden Meadow outside the system. And the last item I have is we completed the repair of the sills, the bottom 3 sills along this is the southeastern gate of the Leontario lock. So that was completed. Those, we had reports of one of the sills, the lower sills here, that had broken off. And so our employees went out and temporarily reattached it, but it was not a long-term solution. So then we went back and got quotes to replace all 3 of these because they were in bad shape.
How much that cost?
What was the 6,500? Yeah. This was, and it was completed in one day with no interruption to traffic. So, all right, and that'll complete my report.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to engineering report. Anyone from CPRA here?
I just got an email actually right after the meeting started from Daniel Dearman. His dad was just diagnosed with leukemia. So so I've asked for y'all prayers for him.
Okay, anyone from the Corps of Engineers? Project engineers, Pisciola and Associates. Joe?
Okay, on the Leontario over the LaRose Lock project, our project plans are complete, all the permitting is complete. We've been working on cost estimates, updating the cost estimates, so I think we have a good cost estimate. It's a little conservative at this point, but I think it's where we want to be. In the near future, we're going to start working on right-of-ways. We've already done some preliminary work on the amount of right-of-ways we think we need. We'll start working with Ryan and with Wendell to finalize those and then start acquiring right-of-ways for the project while we're securing the remaining funding. On section E North levee improvements, southeast corner to northeast corner, construction site specialties is the contractor. They've been on site working. They've had some problems with the weather as of late, and so they're not getting the production that they've had in the past. But they are still continuing moving towards the north, towards where the boat launch is. We do have pay application number 4 in the amount of $331,281.84, and we do recommend you approve that.
Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay construction site specialties. Pay request number 4 in the amount of $331,281.84. Moved by Brian, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
So we do have the South Lafourche Levee District personnel with excavator moving material onto the levee. And we have outer limit contractors that grading and shaping the crown of that levee coming from the south end towards the north. They're making good progress. Next meeting, I'll have some updated drone photos so we can see the results of that, but it is looking good. So we're getting the crown up to +14, and at the same time, we're providing more area for the contractor to dump more material on to build up the protected side berm in the future. So we do have pay application number 1 for outer limit in the amount of $32,340 even, and we do recommend you pay that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay outer limits, pay app number 1 in the amount of $32,240. Moved by Scott, second by Monty. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, so the next project we have is the Hurricane Ida storm damage repairs to the pump stations and the floodgates. Grand Isle Shipyard's the contractor. The project's complete, but we asked them to come back and do work that they were supposed to complete in the first contract on the LaRose floodgate and also the Levee, Ontario lock. They've come up with a plan on what they're gonna do. We're currently scheduling that with Drake to try to get that done while in the winter months, while we have some time where we can shut down operations of the gates for a day or two. So in the upcoming weeks, while we have some cold weather where the bayou water's down, we'll be doing that.
I want to clarify real quick, when Joe mentions that we'll be shutting down gate operations, that doesn't mean we'll be shutting down traffic in the bayou. That means we're going to leave the gate leaves open to allow traffic. We're not going to open and close it, so that's what we're trying to.
Yeah, shutting down the operation.
Right.
But just they'll be able to still have navigation through it. So there's no pay application on this project this month. And the Hurricane Ida storm damage repairs to this main office. Grand Isle Shipyard is also the contractor. This project is also complete. We've had a couple punch list items that they're nearing completion. Hopefully they'll be finished sometime by the end of this week or early next week. The main thing is the operations of those doors going into the file storage area. And the maintenance of the north sector gates at Levee, Ontario locks. So we're going to be taking these 2 gates out and repairing them, or not repairing them, but undergoing maintenance, blast and paint, and doing any repairs that need to be made. Remember, we bid this project. We got no bidders before. We have been talking to several contractors. We're being told that we'll have at least 3 bidders. We are going to bid this project on December the 19th at 10 a.m. And the next project is the pump station number 8 discharge pipe replacement. We talked about that. We're replacing the discharge pipe on the flood side from the last vent into the water. We also going to bid that project on December the 19th at 10 a.m. And our last project is A East levee improvements. So we submitted our plans and specifications to CPRA. They have comments. We're going to have a meeting with them tomorrow to discuss their comments and then discuss a path forward as to how we'll proceed with the design.
Okay, any questions for Joe?
Joe, on the gates, we have anodes and all on that?
Yes, we do.
We do, and you're gonna check maybe the thickness of it and, you know,
The plan is-
electrolysis and see,
The plan is to replace them.
oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, usually you cut it off, but,
Right.
just maybe check the steel and make sure it's still, okay, sounds good.
And sometimes we have, you know, spots that are pitted, you know,
Right.
it's like boat repair. I mean,
Yep.
we have an allowance in there for doing those type of repairs.
Okay.
So when we pick it up, we'll look at, after we blast it, we'll look at what needs to be repaired and we'll make those repairs.
Roger that.
Sir?
Go put a bin in it.
Yeah.
No, one bin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got the name of the boat? Okay.
We'll look at that section and see if anything needs to be done. Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Fix it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to GIS. John?
Good afternoon, John Plaisance with GIS Engineering, 16878 West Main Street in Cutoff. Before I start, I wanted to introduce to y'all Mr. Kevin DeZarn. Y'all may or may not know that Laura has left us, so Kevin will be taking over her spot over here. So when I get him broken in, I'll have him ask y'all for all the money. The first project we have is AE's Bio Water Retention by Lafourche. You can see that that's basically the dark red lines are where we're going to put levees to isolate the lighter red area in water from when a storm comes, so we don't have water going in and out of that we need to pump out. We're still getting permits on that. We submitted an HMIA to DNR about a month and a half ago. They had some questions. We addressed them. Last week we resubmitted that. So hopefully it'll be soon, but we do not know when those permits will be reissued.
HMIA, for those who don't speak state acronyms, it's a hydrologic modification impact analysis. Anytime you're going to be changing the way water moves in an area like we're going to be doing, DNR will request some level of that kind of analysis to make sure you're not going to be negatively impacting anything in the area.
And typically it's just a level 1 analysis, but this one was a level 4 analysis they request. So it took a while to put that together. On y'all agenda is amendment number 3 in our contract, amount of $47,650. Part of that's for permit work, but additional work, inflation type of stuff. So that is on y'all agenda for approval today.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer. The amendment number 3, the amount of $47,650. Somebody want to pay up?
I ain't giving him no money.
Second by Mr.
I ain't
Rowland.
giving him no money.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry. Motion carried. Move on.
The next 2 items on the agenda are the D North Ramp project, which y'all talked about a little while ago. This project is the one we stopped in the middle because there were going to be some problems with the contractor. We're still facing those legal issues, but we're getting through those. The next part of it is the ramp lift, which is the replacement project to finish it. Again, as Nick mentioned before, the Allianz are looking at relocating our borrowed material area from that triangular pit in the back, which is to the east of the project, to an old levee along the Breton Canal on the south bank of the Levee Canal, which is a little bit further. I think it's 1,500 feet to the old site. It's 3,000 feet to the new site. It's going to be a little bit more, but not transportation costs. But this material is already part of a levee, so hopefully that'll more than offset the additional transportation costs. On this one, we have a little bit larger amendment, number 1. That is the one that, if y'all remember last month, we postponed till this month to allow Nick to get some more information. Actually, from Laura, he's gotten that information, hopefully to his satisfaction. A lot of this is resident project representation that we had only had 10% of on the original contract, but now this is going to be full RPR on the new contract.
And that was my main question, was about the amount for the resident project representative in the new contract versus the old one, but we cleared that up, so I'm definitely comfortable with it.
Who is being paid to GIS?
It'll be paid to us. And that is on a time and material basis, so if we end up not needing it, y'all won't have to pay for it.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer to pay amendment number 1 to GIS in the amount of $170,080. Need a motion by Mitch, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
This is still the significantly cheaper option than before we terminated the contract.
Okay, John?
The next project is the reconnection of Breton Canal to Lafourche, which are the weirs at the front of Breton Canal. We turned in a final design report to Nick on Friday, so after he reviews that, we'll be able to proceed with the bidding procedure. Again, y'all people did a great job of clearing the canal. There is still a lot of material in there that the contractor will have to get out, mostly because there's also a lot of debris in there, storm-related type debris. So instead of y'all dealing with that, we'll have the contractor deal with that.
So our in-house personnel, using our excavators and dozers, have been clearing the north bank line from almost from LA 308 all the way back to the golf course fence. And then we hopped on to the south side and continuing from there all the way to pump station number 6. And that allows us to get to the Breton Canal and to be able to dig it out to the bottom elevation that we needed to get to. What John's mentioning though is closer to the school, between the school and 308, there's a lot of, whether it's storm debris or just dumps,
Throwing that was a dump back then.
stuff that we
Filling it in.
We were much more comfortable having a contractor with their insurance handle sifting through all that material than having our in-house employees handle it. So,
Okay.
And our final project is the D-South Floodwall Phase 3 project. So we are working on that in earnest. We should have a final design to y'all in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
and this project will be paid for with funding from CPRA.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Right,
Like
as you
that.
can see, I believe that's them right there. Right now, y'all have some ESCO baskets, but we will be extending the steel sheet piles through there for a permanent solution.
That's it. Any questions for John? Thank you,
Okay,
John.
thank you.
Okay, Angela Design, Neil, I see a bunch of numbers on
Sure,
this
he's
thing.
hitting us hard.
I'm not really excited about it.
I'm walking, I ain't hoping.
We may give Mitch a heart attack. Go ahead, Neil.
Neil Angelet Design. On the section C South Levee Reshaping Project, that contractor was Grand Isle Shipyard. They have completed the work and submitted their clear lien certificate along with the final application for payment. We're recommending approval of that final pay application in the amount of $249,090.21.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer for pay request number 18, the GIS, in the amount of $249,090.21. Need a motion by Brad, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That was easy.
All right, next project is C North Levee Improvements. That contractor, Compo Construction and Sons, is continuing to work to raise that levee up to a plus 13.5. We're recommending approval of their invoice number 1205 in the amount of $82,485.
Okay. That's coming to Highway 24?
Yes, you can
Towards
see
bottom
the
here.
intercoastal on the top right of the picture, and that's the corner right before you make the turn onto Highway 24.
Okay, all right. Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Compo and Sons invoice number 1205, the amount of $82,485. Moved by Monty, second by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, next project is the C South flood side repairs. This is from the south side of Apache Farm going all the way down almost to the Basin pump station. And we're also going to be doing some work a little bit south of the Basin pump station. This is work, as you remember, to complete repairs on the flood side from all of the storm debris that was removed after Hurricane Ida. This is a good picture here. You can see the lower half of the picture on the right side of the levee is the completed work. As you go up the page and you see that water at the toe of the levee, that's where the storm debris was placed and removed. So we're working to fill back in and create that wave side berm on the levee that we once had. Work is going real well. Right now, they're in the vicinity of the shooting range, moving just past that. We're recommending approval of their invoice number 1206 in the amount of $55,405.
And who's the,
That contract is Compo and Sons Construction. Yes, sir.
okay, you've heard the recommendation of the engineer to pay Compo and Son invoice 1206 in the amount of $55,405. Moved by Mitch, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, next project is the LaRose Flood Wall Vessel Impact Barrier. That notice to proceed was issued last week to the contractor. They are starting to purchase and store a significant amount of material at their yard in Houma, and we think they'll be actually beginning installation on site in the next couple of weeks. Today we're recommending approval of their pay app number 1 in the amount of $238,165, and that's per contract for stored material that we've inspected and seen at their site.
For material.
Yes, sir.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of engineer. Pay request number 1 in the amount of $238,165.
Nope.
Moved by Marty, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Improve that protected side berm. We're recommending approval of their application for payment number 2 in the amount of $500,289.95.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer for pay request number 2 to sea level in the amount of $500,289.95. Moved by Brian, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Any questions for Neil? Okay, Delta Coast, Mitch,
Yeah, I'll give you guys a quick update on what's going on. A lot of you guys asked me where have I been. Well, as you know, we took over a lot of the work that you guys were doing here for us. Terrebonne took over that, so you know, we hadn't been here as much. But just to keep you in the loop, we are trying to tie in Morganza on both sides of your system. You know, we're doing a bunch of work on Reaches K&L right now. If y'all are aware, you know, we had a project really to get that levee to about a 9.5. We're about to change order to get to 12. And then we hope to, where the state came in and did that work a few years ago to lift that, we put some material out there and we'll try to lift that to 12 too. So all of that should be going on here, you know, over the winter and hopefully prior to next hurricane season so that we can have most of that to 12 all the way to Grand Bayou. So that's a big, you know, accomplishment in tying that system in. Nick has been invited and has been joining us in our participation with the Corps twice a month in terms of tying in on the other side. So the Corps is currently in the process of beginning the design of Intracoastal Canal floodgate. We haven't quite worked out how that will tie into South Lafourche Levee District system. It's complex, but obviously we're going to engage you guys fully in coming up with what's the best fit for everybody here. It may require relocation of a pump station and some other things, but that cost would not be borne by you all at all. That would be borne by the Morganza project. We'll try to come here once a month and just keep y'all up to date on what's going on, maybe Kyle or Eric or myself, and just kind of give you a heads up. If y'all have any questions, y'all know that y'all can call me anytime. We got two efforts going on right now. We're trying to lift the whole system locally, and then we have the Corps who has $400 million that is coming in and starting to spend money, so we have to facilitate that. So it's been quite hectic for the last couple of years trying to do that. I mean, it's actually hard to make them spend their own money. And I guess you guys can relate to that to some extent, but that's kind of what's going on. Nick, I don't know if I left anything out that you want to point out, but You know, if you guys have questions about any part of that project or that work, the only thing, I didn't mention, we had a terrible delay with pipeline crossing on Reach K going into the Williams facility. So what we're working, and Neil is actually the design engineer, we're working to provide a permanent closure that hopefully we'll have the plans wrapped up in a couple of months to build, a braced flood wall across those pipelines with maybe a wasky deck that we can cross back and forth on. So that's kind of in a nutshell what's going on in this area. And like I said, I'm here if you ever need me.
So just to point out the comment that Mitch made about potentially having to move a pump station, because the GIWW East floodgate that would connect North Lafourche levee system to our levee system, the placement of that would be east of, our pump station number 7, east of Tidewater, North American. And so the question is, how do they come from the south bank of the Intracoastal to connect to us? And that would potentially be going around, to the east of and then south of the Enbridge facility that's out there just outside of the system at the end of Delta Farm. And so that would, if they would do that, that would put our pump station number 7 on the inside. So, which they can't do. So that would mean that the Corps would have to move pump station number 7 a few hundred feet south, which isn't really going to hurt us as far as pumping capacity or efficiency. And we'd get a brand new pump station out of the deal. So not that that one's old, but I don't really see a negative to it. So,
and we want to try to encompass that facility if we can. We think it's cheaper, and it provides the economic benefit of keeping that business inside that system in here, paying taxes and doing the things that they do. So we're going down that route, but we'll be in constant communication with you guys to figure out if that's the path we need to take. Relocating a pump station on a $250 million project, it's not going to factor into the decision. I mean, the floodgate will be 225 feet wide, so it'll be a gigantic floodgate right there. So.
And there are other things that we'll have to consider as we move along, because the way the Morganza project is designed and laid out in the post-authorization change report, along section C north that you just saw the improvements that we've been making, the protected side for our system is actually the flood side for Morganza. And so there are questions that I was able to pose actually last week when I had lunch with Chris Dunn of the Corps of Engineers at ALBO, kind of pointing those issues out to him, that the Corps, as you see in the photo here of our lock, they gave us grief for having piles in tension, meaning we have the piles on the flood side of our flood wall here that are welded, basically holding the wall back instead of pushing the wall against the force of the water. And that was one of the issues that they took with our design. Well, here, when they incorporate section C north into Morganza, they'll have the piles in tension in their system. So they're going to have to figure out how to address that. But there's,
I think we're pretty far ways away from that. I mean, they're talking about, the floodgate being designed by 2028. So that would put construction in 2028, 2029. Right. So, we're not even getting toward, that whole part of y'all's system is actually coincides with Morganza.
In reality, water's rarely, if ever, going to touch that section. Yeah. And so, but on paper, the Corps of Engineers in the Morganza, in the PAC report, basically pretends like our entire system gets flooded, and then our protected side becomes their flood side.
So hopefully we have floodgates on both ends. It's really interior, right? So, but we got to get to that point. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for Mitch? Thanks, Mitch. Allsouth, Stevie?
So I got 3 things to report on to the board. Stevie Smith of Allsouth. The first one is the Golden Meadow Terraces project. Again, this is a project where we've been trying to find some funding for this project for some time. Nick and I had a conference call last week with some folks from GOSEP at the state. There's a program that's referred to as the BRIC program, Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, I believe is what the acronym stands for. But it's a funding program that may be appropriate for this project. So we actually had a call, I guess it was Thursday, right, Nick, to talk about whether this project would be appropriate for that funding. The deadline to get it to the state is at the end of January, and then the state submits it to the feds at the end of February. So again, I don't know if, Nick, if you've made any decisions or whether you got to talk to your board about that, but that's pending out there. Board members know we hadn't submitted the application yet, but that may be appropriate for that project. I'll move on to the next one, which is the Reach K Terraces. This is a repair of the terraces. The board approved an agreement with the Terrebonne Levee District, I believe, at last month's meeting for the Terrebonne Levee District to act as a contractor on your behalf to repair those terraces. That project has not started yet. We got some survey data back for the existing condition of the terraces within the last week or so. And now that we have the survey data, we're going to come up with a plan to repair those terraces. That'll start probably after the first of the year, by the time we get a plan together and get the folks in the personnel and the equipment out there. And then the last one is the general Hurricane Ida response, which refers to our help, our work for you guys trying to get you reimbursed for costs associated with Hurricane Ida. There's two things that have happened recently about that. Well, the first thing is we've been waiting for some correspondence from the Corps to, I guess, revalidate your exclusion from the rehabilitation program, right, Nick? I want to make sure I say that the right way. We're trying to get the Corps to write us a letter that says you're not in the rehabilitation program, which sounds bad, but it's necessary for FEMA to step in and give you some money, right? FEMA says that the Corps will take care of you, I'm not giving you any money. The Corps is not taking care of you, so we're getting a letter written that says that to the FEMA so we can get you some money back from FEMA. And I know we had some correspondence, Nick, I don't know, Joey seemed like he said that letter was, or draft had been prepared, but we hadn't seen the final version yet.
Yeah, Joey Wagner, our project manager at the Corps of Engineers, I coordinated with him to get the language put together. I drafted the letter for them to try to speed that along, but internally, any kind of letter like that that's going to be signed by either the deputy district engineer or the colonel needs to go through a review of all the different divisions that are associated with that project. Then it has to go to Office of Counsel, which is where it is now, before it'll actually get on the district engineer's desk. So we're in that final stage of legal counsel review. Just as soon as that gets in our hands, we'll send it off back to FEMA and get that answer.
Yeah, and again, just the broad picture is that's important. I mean, I know you had a report from some of the folks about some FEMA-related repairs to your pump station, into the office building, and there's several other projects that are probably finished now that you're not getting a report on anymore. There's a decent amount of money tied up in that, which is not going to move forward until we get the current letter from the Corps that we can send to FEMA saying the Corps is not helping these folks. Please help us, FEMA. Now, if that is not being caught in a federal bureaucracy, I don't know what is, everybody, but that's literally where you are now, okay? The other movement we've seen in this, and again, some of you may remember this, we had about $2.5 million of expenses where we took some debris off of the Temple yard, Larissa's property over there at the upper end of Grand Bahia, and we also dug out the Bahia itself to get access to the floodgate. There was about $2.5 million of removing debris, basically marsh grass out of there. That has really been hung up for some time. I did see some email traffic this week, Nick. I'm not sure if you noticed it, but we had a couple of clarifications in that scope of work. So I'm very hopeful in the next 30 to 60 days that will be cleared up, and that will clear up $2.5 million, 2.3 to come back to the district in the next 60 days. So I'm very hopeful for that. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any questions for Steve? Thanks, Steve. Okay, moving on to legal permits and right-of-way, Mitch, anything to report? Nothing to report, thank you. Mr. Board Attorney, anything for us?
Just quickly, apologize, y'all stuck with me again. I got the presents with Ray for about a month. And
we learned some stuff too.
I know. So now y'all stuck with me again. On the Breton Canal project and working with John and Nick, we are confirming the agreement with the Drainage District in regards to the payment of that project. And then regarding the current lawsuit with LA Contracting Enterprises, we did appear in court and we made arguments and we filed a writ to be paid. We disagreed with what they should have been paid on the project. That was the work done so far. It's currently under advisement with the judge, we submitted memos, so we're just waiting to hear back on that.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, Finance Committee, Monty?
Mr. President, the Finance Committee met and reviewed all invoices and recommended they be paid as presented.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our Finance Committee Chairman to approve and pay all invoices. Motion by Brett, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, any old business? Any old business? Okay, any new business? Any new business? I just want to mention something also. I'd like to thank our engineers for providing some refreshments, and we have a lot left over. And I'd like to thank our engineers for what you guys do for us. I mean, we feel very confident in your ability, and we rely a lot on you guys, and we really appreciate our engineers. So, thank you.
I
And the
guess
need,
we'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
yes, yes.
Lafourche Levee.
And the need for executive, okay. Need a motion. A motion moved by Monty, second by Midge, that we adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.